It's hard to imagine where we'd be and what we'd be doing right now without the web. The web connects us to each other and increasingly to the state of the planet. In 2020, while many of us were sheltered in place, it was a window into our changing climate. From devastating floods and droughts to rapidly intensifying hurricanes and extreme heat. Ultimately, the web also holds the potential to significantly accelerate innovation that helps us fight climate change and adapt to its effects. Today, I'll be exploring three interrelated themes: how and why the 2020 wildfire season was so different, the impacts of these historic wildfires on human and planetary health, and the role that technology can play in adapting to our changing climate while mitigating climate change itself. It's hard to fight hurricanes, but we can fight fires. Wildfires are a visceral example of the interconnection between human health and planetary health. The smoke can affect the atmosphere, travel thousands of miles, and literally take our breath away. A year ago, we watched in shock and horror as massive Australian bushfires raged through towns across the country. Historically large wildfires even created their own firestorms, called pyrocumulus nimbus clouds, and drove people into the water, claiming homes and human lives, while billions of animals died or were displaced. The air quality in Australia was unhealthy for weeks on end. 33 people tragically died in the bushfires, but the smoke was even more deadly, killing at least 400 people and hospitalizing thousands. Millions of acres were scorched and more than 800 million tons of carbon dioxide were released. That's more greenhouse gas than Australia emits in a single year. Climate change makes wildfires worse. They accelerate climate change, and they can neutralize gains in local emissions reductions in one fell swoop. Just as NASA, NOAA, and the UK Met Office were reporting that the decade ending in 2019 was the warmest on record, Australia finally emerged from the worst bushfire season in history. And just a few months later in California, the wildfire season started early, with a historic mid-August dry lightning storm that struck Northern California with more than 12,000 lightning bolts, starting hundreds of fires. Many of those fires were still burning weeks and months later, as the August complex grew to be the largest California wildfire on record, with more than 1 million acres burned. The impacts from the wildfire smoke stretched up and down the West Coast, from Mexico to Canada, moving to the East Coast and eventually reaching Europe. From August to October 2020, 4 million acres burned. Ash fell from the sky, entire towns were evacuated, and one fire even generated a fire tornado. Smoke in the atmosphere from fires in California joined with smoke from fires in Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and beyond. They blotted out the sun. Our scientists took a closer look at the changing air quality in the Bay Area and across California during this time. At Aclima, we map air quality block by block using roving fleets of sensor-enabled vehicles, as well as stationary sensors. Traditional monitoring gives us a regional view of air quality. Our network provides a neighborhood-level view. And unlike consumer sensors, we measure a wide variety of pollutants, some of which can't be seen or smelled but are present throughout the year. In Northern California, where we're working in collaboration with the local regulator, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, we're mapping more than 5,000 square miles in all 9 counties of the San Francisco Bay Area, day and night, weekdays and weekends, to build a massive data set of ground-truthed street-level pollution levels throughout the year. And using our software applications, Aclima customers and scientists are able to analyze these data points to better understand the impacts of air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. During the historic 2020 wildfire season, parts of California, including the Bay Area, experienced the worst sustained air quality on record. The primary driver of weeks of poor air quality was fine particulate matter, or PM2.5, which is made up of wildfire smoke. Analyzing data from regulatory monitors in our own sensor network, our scientists observed that PM2.5 concentrations during the wildfires from mid-August to early September varied county to county throughout the state. And while daily averages were generally elevated throughout the state, daily maximums were, logically, higher in the counties with active large fires. Weather and topography affected where the smoke plumes blew. So inland areas experienced worse air quality when onshore winds drove smoke east from fires in the west. On September 9th, smoke that was stuck in the marine layer blocked out the sun and cast an eerie orange glow across the entire Bay Area. Although the sky was orange, air quality on the ground was actually better than it had been in weeks. This was due to the Bay Area's unique marine layer, which trapped the smoke higher in the atmosphere. However, that marine layer eventually dissipated and air quality rapidly degraded as all that dense smoke came down to the ground. Interestingly, we observed a very different pattern with ozone. Typically, light and heat from the sun creates a chemical reaction that results in more ozone in the atmosphere in the summer. But with the smoke blocking out the sun across much of the state, ozone levels dropped at a time of year when they are normally much higher. This historic crisis raises awareness that looks can be deceiving, and that we have to question old assumptions when it comes to air quality. We have just 16,000 feet of breathable air on Earth. Wildfire season, while worse this year than ever before, is only a temporary reminder of how precious our air is every day of the year. In fact, the vast majority of us breathe unhealthy air every day. And just because you can't see or smell smoke doesn't mean that there isn't air pollution. Air pollution affects every single organ at every phase of life. For sensitive groups like children, older adults, and people with asthma or other chronic respiratory illnesses, short-term exposure to wildfire smoke can kill. Long-term exposure to fine particulate matter has been shown to increase everything from cancer to asthma to serious complications from COVID-19. With wildfire season starting earlier, lasting longer, and leading to more and bigger fires, the impacts on the air we breathe extend far and wide, and they don't stop at our borders. And with this year's historic wildfires in Australia and the United States injecting billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, we have stark examples of the way human health and planetary health are fundamentally interconnected. In 2020, we saw how resilient humans can be. And it became painfully obvious that technology has a big role to play in both mitigating and adapting to climate change. But it also showed us how much more needs to be done. While thousands of homes burned, many lives were saved by courageous first responders, and many fires were contained remarkably quickly. Early warning systems like the Alert Wildfire System co-developed by UC San Diego has grown from dozens of cameras to hundreds of cameras, providing a way to instantly see remote, fire-prone areas and give responders a chance to stop new fires before they spread too far. Online and mobile communications and new firefighting technologies, including drones and satellite imaging, has made it possible to contain some of the largest fires in California history. Advancements in technologies mean that wildfire danger can now be protected and mitigated, and new wildfires can be spotted early. People can now access much more granular real-time data about fire danger, power line concerns, evacuation zones, fire boundaries, air quality, and greenhouse gas emissions. People around the world are racing to adapt to the accelerating impacts of climate change. And the technology community, our community, has a critical role to play in giving society the tools to do just that. That's why it's time to treat climate change like our generation's moonshot, our Earthshot. Now that the urgency of the climate crisis is more visible than ever before, we need to improve and scale what works and create new technology to support climate mitigation and adaptation. In this coming year, let's mobilize our capabilities. Let's bring a new ethos to our culture of launching and iterating. By investing in innovation that supports and accelerates climate action, we can save more lives, protect public health, and build a more resilient and equitable future for everyone. Thank you.